Hi, Jim.
Hi.
I'm returning to the I'm returning to the theme of that God doesn't protect us, but sustains us in all things. So many of our children are so anxious right now. It's like out of control, right? Just statistically. And so I hear you, and I can comfort myself and my fellow adults. God doesn't protect us. God sustains us in all things. But with our children, like my daughter's, her biggest fear is that something bad will happen to me or to her. Mommy, tell me nothing will happen, you know? The author, Kate DiCamillo, the beautiful children's author, all her books are hard. They're difficult because she says, I try to tell the truth to children in a way that they can bear it. So how do we tell this truth that you're sharing with us to children?
Yes, well, first of all, there's developmental readiness. You tell the child what they need to hear to be okay. I don't want to share a story. There's a lovely book called A Rumor of Angels by Peter L. Berger, the sociologist. It's a great book. I want to share an image out of that book. Imagine a little baby's crying at night, crying. And the mother gets up, puts on her bathrobe, and comes in, picks the baby up, and rocks the baby. And she's rocking the baby, soothing it. She says to the baby, don't cry. Everything's all right. Everything's all right. Don't cry. He said, now, in reality, the woman, as she says that to her baby, she's dying because everybody dies. And the baby she's holding is going to die. But she doesn't tell the baby that, honey, you think you're scared now? Listen to this. And daddy's out in the garage making caskets. Let's go look. See? Oh, look at this nice. He said, or is it? See, is it like a rumor of angels in her heart? You're dying and I am dying, and it is all right. See, because nobody dies. And therefore I had this image that when she puts on her bathrobe, it's like a liturgy of consolation. And when, it isn't just she's consoling her baby, but as she listens to what she's telling her baby, she's consoling herself. See, it's unexplainably more than all right. On up to the moment of your death and beyond, it's unexplainably all right. The light of the resurrection shines bright in the brokenness of this world. And that's my sense of it. With children.
We have time for one more.
Okay.
Hi, Jim. Back here.
Hi.
This is a little different note. I can't wait for your new book to come out. The Enneagram has been such a powerful tool of compassion and self-understanding and transformation, and I'd love to hear what drew you to the Enneagram, what your passion in this new book.
Oh, the Enneagram? Is that what you said?
Yes, on the Enneagram.
Oh, yes. I'll respond briefly on this. Kristen Oates and I were writing a book on the nature and the art of discernment. And to give an example, and we're writing it at the psychological level, the religious level, and this mystical level. Discernment is a light that guides us through our days and our lifelong search for healing, wholeness, and fulfillment. And so to give an example of one of the insights in discernment. Discernment is becoming aware that there's aspects of yourself that you're not aware of. Was I saying this yesterday? No. Discernment is you become aware that there's aspects of yourself that you're not aware of. Therefore, discernment is paradoxical in that it's a deepened awareness born of the acceptance of the limitations of awareness. Therefore, discernment is grounded in humility. You also see that it's important and helpful to become aware of the aspects of yourself you're not aware of. Both because it could be unactualized gifts to share with the world and about yourself. And there could also be internalized patterns that are causing suffering to you and the people who love you and that you love them. And therefore it behooves you you discern how important to bring it out into the open this way. And then you notice that it meets with resistance. It's not that easy to bring it out into awareness, and why? One, if your shortcomings are shame-based, you're afraid to bring it out. If you think what's wrong with you has the authority to name who you are, you hide it from yourself, and it festers in there. Likewise, what the gifts are, Rollo May says, if the neurosis of Freud's age was repressed sexuality, it's hardly the neurosis of our age. He says, I think the neurosis of our age is the anxiety that will be found out that we're pretending that we're less than we are. And if we found out, we're going to have to stand up and be ourselves, see, this way. And so how can I have the courage to stand up and be myself and share it this way? And how can I, so does that make sense? So what the Enneagram then is, a psychological model, is Naranjo and the Enneagram are 9 personality types as a model. And each personality type, number 1 and number 2 and number 3, each one is an asset. Each one is a strength. It's like what nurtures you or what you need to be understood, to be helpful, to be successful, to be whatever everyone had. And it also has a shadow side to it, like a call for transformation. And so by understanding the Enneagram, and by the way, you know it's true because when you hear it, it rings true. See, when you go through each one, you go, that is what motivates me this way. And I also see it's my growing edge. Richard Rohr calls it the redeemed and the unredeemed side of each one. And that's true this way. And so what we're doing in the Enneagram is this, that some spiritual directors are using the Enneagram to help their directees understand their personality type is influencing the way they experience God's presence, the way they understand God, and the way they respond to God through their personality type. And that's probably true. What I'm looking at is this, because the Enneagram is scientific, which is its strength, by the way, when you look at what science is, to measure and observation this way, translated, a theoretical orientation translated into a way of promoting healing and so on. We have to also see that it is true, but it's also precisely because it's scientific, it's limited. Because we are not reducible to the propensities of our personality this way, because of grace. Jesus did not die on the cross to save your personality. It's a configuration of a set of propensities. But you can understand, if you work with someone, and you know the Enneagram, if you work with someone, you can pretty well sense what their Enneagram type is. And if you're wise about it, you can work with that to your advantage. But you don't really know who they are until you love them. See? Because we're not reducible to the patterns of who we are. And that's what love is. A person, they see the patterns, but they see through the patterns to who you are, see, as love, this way. And so there are the limitations of this. And this is true of all world religions. The prophet Osee, God says to Israel, I will lead her into the desert and I will speak to her heart this way. It's this deep kind of speech, this kind of utterance in the communal heart of a people that they're loved. And therefore, it isn't reducible to the patterns this way. But the patterns are configurations of aspects of it this way. And then in mystical union, like we're talking about here, it's completely useless because it's infinite. It's theosis. You cross through into God in a mystical death to dying to everything. That God is, you made our hearts for thee, O Lord, and our hearts are restlessly rest in thee. Nothing less than an infinite union with the infinite love of God will ever be enough to put to rest the restless longings of our heart. It's a setup. See, it's a setup. It was prearranged this way. See, and therefore it's completely useless because all these patterns don't pertain. God doesn't exist. None of these patterns, God, there's no gender. None of it pertains to God. But then the question we're asking is this, but when it comes full circle, what's it like to be a mystically awakened 1 on the Enneagram, a mystically awakened 2, a mystically awakened 3, a mystically awakened 4. And what's it like being mystically awakened? You can move back and forth across all 9 types, not reducible to any, as graced empathy with the human experience. And that's the book we're writing.
Wow.
It's a great, but it's fun. It's fun.